Hello, everyone. This is Auto Asphyxiation, and this is Lark.
And Kimberly.
Yes, and today I think it's the 20th episode. I'm not sure. It's around the 20th, 21st, but still, we've done a lot of episodes. This has been going on for a while. I think this has been exciting. I have to say, this has been an exciting time.
This is definitely one of those unprecedented times.
Yeah, that's true. You're a kid, you're like, I wish I had been alive during blah blah blah, and then it's like, then you are, and you're like, you know what? Maybe not. Maybe I
Maybe
didn't need to
not.
be alive. That maybe I didn't need to experience this horror show. Um. Anyway, but actually, you know what? I was kind of being negative, but actually, we're going to talk about something really good that happened on June 14th. No King's Day. It had 13.4 million. That's a high estimate, 13.4 million from the alternative, what's it called? Alternative Park Department. Alternative Park Department. And then the low side numbers are 5 million. But the thing is that the Daily Beast had official numbers at 11 million too. So, but you know what? Here's the thing, Kimberly. Regardless of what number it is, it still was the largest protest in U.S. history, and I like to say it was the largest working class protest in the United States. In other countries, the working class rise up and hey, I'm not taking this. This is the first time I think this has been a actual working class event. What do you think, Kimberly?
Well, I can't help but think about all of the cool conversations that had happened around offices and, quote unquote water coolers around the country today. Like how exciting it must have been for people that went to the marches over the weekend and talking to other people that may have gone and spreading that good energy around and getting the conversation spread around to even more people. So I think that it was fantastic. It was nonviolent for the most part. There were some isolated incidents of right-wing violence, but they were quashed almost immediately. And I think it was a powerful statement by the working class of the United States.
I think that's the thing. I'm so impressed by it, just because I love the fact that it was an actual diverse event. I mean, you had seniors there, you had young people there. Because a little kid, I almost fell over. So little kids there. You had a variety of people who had maybe a symbol of what they were for. Whether it be LGBT rights, climate crisis, ICE, but everybody was you could tell everybody was there for one reason. We are all here together to save democracy, to defend the Constitution, to say we have no king, regardless of where we're from in Manhattan. Because we were in Manhattan, it's big borough, people from New Jersey. We can have people who are in the Bronx, Brooklyn. So no matter where we're from in New York. If we're here, you are here to join one big group. I think it was over 100,000 people in Manhattan, and I think it was I think it was over 100,000 in Los Angeles. It was just a amazing day, and I always wonder, why do you think it seemed like it was so many more people than the other rallies or protests?
Well, I think to your account, that it is a very diverse group of people. We're even seeing people that were Trump voters coming out to these protests, not necessarily your diehard maggots, but we're seeing elderly people, we're seeing boomers, we're seeing greatest generation people come out to these protests. And I think it resonates because people are experiencing in real time the effects of Trump's fascist executive orders. Per CNN, there was an order for 275,000 federal civil servants to be laid off. CNN has confirmed 121,000. That's 12% of the civil service workforce. Farmers have lost not only their workforce on their farms, but they've also lost farms due to increased cost of feed and supplies due to tariffs. Special needs children are at risk of losing Medicaid coverage. People are watching their neighbors being violently pulled off the streets. So, literally, this touches on everyone in the United States.
And despite all of that horror that is going on, people showed up. On the East Coast, the weather was awful. It was rainy and cold. And I thought, well, maybe, but just like you stated, all these things that had happened, but people were just kind of like, they still had the courage and the fortitude to come out, like, 13 million people, like, strong. And now, we're talking about, the great parts of the march, but now we're going to go to a little darker side. And this is not about the protest. It's about, why we're protesting and where we are in this novel. I want to say, I won't say chapter. In this chapter, where we are in the chapter 65 of the United States of America, a really huge book. Where are we? I mean, the Saturday morning, two Minnesota politicians were shot, and not only that, shot 8 times and one 9 times, which is just unbelievable. And despite that, Minnesota went on and did their protest. For this whole idea, like, oh, people who are afraid, afraid people don't let that happen in their town. And then instead of cowering in their house, they go outside, and it's like, absolutely not. But this also goes to this, I kind of always concerned about, like, disaster patriarchy, as coined by Eve Ensler. It's kind of saying, like, dismissing women-led movements or collective actions, but also this kind of like, we need someone to save us. We need a Gavin Newsom. Or we need, like, if they have guns, we need a strong man to save us. And so it's kind of like a lot of people, I think they kind of poo-pooed the whole, like, protest because it was about collaboration and cooperation, and it wasn't like what they viewed as militant, like, you're not disrupting things. I think in a way cooperating is disrupting things.
Absolutely. I mean, if you saw the pictures of the quote unquote military parade that happened in the Capitol in Washington, D.C., I think that you can see that the agitation part absolutely 100% was successful. No one was at that parade. Trump was miserable. The army was miserable. And I don't know if you noticed, but they were clearly marching out of step and not happy. And in my opinion, doing their own form of quiet protest in any way that they are capable. So, like, the name of the game is agitation. That's the first step. And it worked. It absolutely worked.
Yeah, I think this is the thing. People have this idea of what they think agitation looks like, what they think strength looks like. Even think about what they think freedom looks like. And actually, we have been fed certain narratives, certain ideas, and I always think about Simone Du Bois' husband. I feel so sad. Oh, Paul Sartre. His play No Exit, and it was kind of like, the pain of being othered. We always talk about, he always think it's like, hate is other people, and it's like, actually he was saying hate is being othered, but if you interpret it wrong, it sounds like you're saying people are like the other people. I hate these other people. I kind of forgot my point, what my point was. I had one in regards to the protest. Oh yes, I was saying in regards to what we think disaster looks like, what we think it looks like, and how a lot of our systems hegemony has in our heads saying essentially to save yourself, you need a version of yourself that's just like us. You need to think like us, and this went against all of that.
And I do think that misogyny plays a large role in critique from leftists. I think that misogyny is pervasive and poisonous on the left. There are a lot of misogynists who openly steal ideas or downplay collectivizing. They make up reasons to do so. I've tried to organize with people. I know that you have as well. And for one reason or another, we're turned away. And then our ideas are taken and somebody else uses them. I think there's a really decent number of very cool looking and sleek sounding pseudo leftists in online spaces that are pushing a do nothing narrative. And leftists are just as susceptible to propaganda as anybody else is. And if you think that you are not susceptible to propaganda, you have just admitted that you are more than most.
Oh yes, this is very true, and I think this is one of the things that that was making me not just me. It makes me really sad that people that I admire and or I admired or I have respect for in some ways are becoming susceptible to these ideas like, oh, 50501 was like a corporate plot in regards to, what happened or a corporate plot. Essentially, this is something that's really challenging to me. And this is something that how can we go about stopping this poison? How can we stop this poison of this idea of regards to, I'm kind of losing my train of thought. And I think about the 50501 critiques in regards to the march. At first in February, they said we shouldn't go. It was going to be dangerous, going to be these dangerous group of people that were secret. Who are they? Where are they from? And now that the march has continued to go on, the protests and movement, now it's corporate. That's why it's popular. They're still posers. I'm like, this is just so exhausting. Like, I don't even know what to say at this point.
Well, and I think that a lot of people on the left are also being willfully disingenuous because the 50501 movement has been very clear with their stated goals. And for our listeners, per their subreddit, their goals are to remove the administration, reverse DOGE Actions, executive orders, and Citizens United, and reclaim the government. This is very clear. This isn't like secret. This isn't like, well, what are you gonna do next? Their goals have been stated since the very beginning. And I just really paraphrased it. There's more detail if you feel like going to their website or their subreddit or like literally like looking at a poster that they might have online. But their goals are very well stated and they're very achievable.
And those are all the things we need in order to get everything everyone else wants. I think that's the thing that's just so frustrating. All the things that we want in regards to, more funding for our education, free, or you put universal childcare, universal college, housing as a right. These are things that if all of those goals are accomplished can happen. I don't understand what people don't understand about that. It's so amazingly frustrating. But I feel like, you know what? While I'm frustrated, everyone else was like, wow, 11 million people, 13 million people were like, this is a great idea. So clearly. The people who are doing this know what they're doing.
Exactly, exactly. And it's like, and it's they their message really united several issues. It codified it into one message and one thing. And like when we look back at like recent history and recent movements like Occupy, while it was a good movement and a great start, Occupy's biggest problem was that its message was all over the place and it didn't have like clear focus and clear goals.
And I think this is the thing that and here's the thing, and I'm going to say this even though I don't know if they quite are admitting to this yet. I feel that this is Bill McKibben's 50-state strategy. I don't know if you guys remember. He's implemented in regards to the climate. He did this like 2007, 2008. He's kind of essentially saying just get everybody on board in regards to labor, climate, in regards to democracy, and have a kind of progressive federalism. And we collaborate. And he's like, there is no, get the purple states in too, et cetera, et cetera. This is what I think. This is part of the 50 state strategy that, unfortunately, I don't want to bring it up, but people are going to remember. They're going to be like, remember Howard Dean? He talked about 50 states. Even though that may not have been the best salesperson for it, it's an amazing strategy. And it's a strategy that Ron Emanuel was like, nope. And essentially the Democratic Party became this thing about battleground states. And when you have battleground states, you kind of like, you kind of leave purple states, well, not purple, you fight in purple states, but you kind of abandon everybody else, and you kind of don't build that momentum that you would have with a 50-state campaign that might cost a little bit more in the beginning, but once you have all the people to buy in, you've got a powerful tool.
Exactly. And I think that there has been a lot of, there's this weird like thread of like anti-democracy, not anti-democrat, but anti-democracy that's like running through the left lately. And I'm like, what do you think that like socialism or communism relies upon? It relies upon a democratic process of people voting to make things happen. Like,
yeah, exactly. I mean, here's something else that I think about, and this is something I think Occupy and a lot of movements suffer from, the tyranny of structurelessness by Joe Freeman. And essentially argues that when you have no structure, you essentially are helping the status quo. It's more complicated than that, but because you get nothing done and you don't say you want anything, you have no objectives, you're creating this, you're kind of like, well, we don't have a structure, so we're anti-structure by being no structure. But when you're no structure, movements don't work that way. And I think that's something that, to me, when I'm looking at Bill McKibben, there are certain things, and he has not said, this is mine, whatever. He essentially has given it to the universe, whoever is doing it. Okay, so I'll just say 501. They are very amazingly like pro-social. Pro-social is an idea that essentially I've spent my life's academic work on the whole idea of pro-social, creating pro-social institutions and pro-social frameworks, and including pro-sociality of essentially, engaging in behavior that benefits more than one person, but also too communities that help each other, because essentially we have this whole idea that, oh, the most fit person survives. Well, actually, that's not true. It's the most cooperative community that survives. And the one thing I liked about the 50501 movement is that I kind of just asked one of the, I forgot, I don't know if she was, I have no idea what part, how she related, but she just like, oh, hey. And she just started like talking to me and just, not asking for anything, just, hey, oh, you're a writer. Let me share some of your writing. Like, not just really engaging in pro-social behaviors that really build community, that really even okay, the protest on the 14th is over. She contacted everyone, and here's the thing: she's in Wisconsin. I have nothing to do with her, and she knows this. It didn't matter that it wasn't like, oh, and because this is what I'm used to other campaigns. Oh, you have the wrong zip code. All right, don't ever want to talk to you again. Like, you never see the person after you might have like an hour conversation with you, but you have the wrong address. So
Well, and that's it. That's a thing too, is that 50501 does in fact have coalitions with other movements. When I was looking up stuff about them today, they have some action plans coming up for the summer. So on June 20th, it's 100 days of detention for Kilmar Abrigo Garcia. So any actions are to as followed. 624 through 630 is a boycott for McDonald's. That's via the People's Union USA.com. 628 is Elon Musk's birthday with Tesla takedown via the Tesla takedown.com. So probably some protests are planned at Tesla dealerships across the country, as those have been really, really, really useful and very powerful. If anybody is looking at Tesla stock lately, it's been pretty powerful. July 4th is a full-on economic blackout. In July, no Starbucks, Amazon, Home Depot. For August, they're calling for boycotts for Walmart, McDonald's, and Lowe's. So they have, again, action steps outlined for us to carry this movement forward from just the success of June 14th.
And I think that's the thing that's really important. It's like, don't be so quick to want things to be like a fraud, to want things to not work out, I think it's so, very important, even whether it is in voting or an action. And I wish I could remember the study, but there was a study that essentially states, if you tell people in regards to an election, oh, no one's gonna vote, nobody cares, you actually get people to not vote by actually just saying that. Like, that's a way to depress the vote. And people people on the right will actually pay someone to be a person to depress the votes. Like I told you, I will find the study and link it in the comments, because I think that's so important. A lot of times we want to be critical. There are times to be critical, and there are times to be a cheerleader.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there's times to see the hope that's going on around you, and instead of being like a poo-poo and bringing yourself and everybody else down with you, it's time to maybe join in on that hope.
Exactly. And I think this is, one thing I think is really so hopeful about this. I feel like the first steps, these are the first steps. And I feel that we're getting towards the midterms. And I'm also too, I feel like I feel like votes are going to swing. We're going to get more people to be enthusiastic, not to necessarily even vote against Trump, but to vote for a better United States, to vote for the community, to vote for we the people. And hopefully, here's the thing too, hopefully the media understands that they are also part of society. As we are media, we understand that we are part of society. Our goal isn't to be like salacious, and titillizing and getting like the best sound bites. Because I already see them doing that in New Jersey. I already see them doing that with Mickey Sherrill. I'm like, dudes, do you understand that we could actually die? We get our rights taken away, and you're kind of like making these little jokes as if who's going to take a woman seriously? And I saw this in a New Jersey paper, and I was like, this is outrageous for you to indulge in this kind of juvenile behavior in this challenging time that we're in.
She's a decorated veteran. I'm sorry, but a lot of these people who are saying things like that have not served in the military. So
Yeah, this is unacceptable. We all have to work together, and that includes the media. This is not entertainment. Your job is to inform the public, not to let's see, what headline can I put to get the most hits. People, they kind of discuss how people ingest entertainment, but they don't talk about what people who have the essentially people who hegemony are paying, what they're putting out in the universe, what they're putting out there, and how much of an effect that it has on people. So this is, like I said, this is all really frustrating. But the thing is that I'm still just like high off of yesterday. Sorry, not yesterday. Off of Saturday. It was such a good day. It was such a good day to see everybody, to be part of this larger thing, to see people across the state coming across the United States. When I say state, across the United States, coming together. And then, at the water cooler today, everybody being like really like hopeful, like, oh, you know what? We can do something together. We can cooperate.
I also just want to say to people that just like, and I said this to you privately, but like, like to people that are like naysayers and so on and so forth, like, man, you are not cooler than Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine. Like, you're just not. And he's been out at the LA protests every single day. They put on a concert on the 14th, like at the end of the day at the protest to support an organization that helps immigrants and migrants in Southern California. Like, you're not cooler than Tom Morello. And if Tom Morello is involved in the 50501 movement, you probably should be too.
Exactly. And with that, we're going to wrap it up unless you have anything else to say.
May the force be with you.
And also with you. No, maybe not the right one. All right.